Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
You know, I don't know how many clocks. Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. I don't know how many clocks we have to have in there that we can look at, and I still am surprised when the music starts playing to start the show. So if you're watching the video feed, you saw us jump, to...
After hours,
yeah.
Things get dark.
It does. It's
not quite like the art jump, though, when he was playing the previous week's show, and we thought it was the music coming on.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that got us good. That was probably the most we jumped on anything. But welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We are continuing our foundation series, and we'll be in it for a while. So you hear us say that for a little while until God takes us to another thing he wants us to do. Mm-hmm. But right now we're in the middle of our foundation series, and we're really just talking about the core beliefs of the ministry, the things that have given us life, that's drawn us closer to Jesus. It's got our walk more intimate with him and led us into truths about ourselves and things like that, and things that have had impacted our lives and hopefully the lives of our families, that are different because of the things God has brought to us through these fundamental things. And so that's really kind of what we're exploring and digging into and talking about again.
Right, and this we didn't talk about it because we hadn't gone deeper yet.
Yeah.
Was the poser digs deep into identity, right? And as you guys brought out so beautifully that, we're made in God's image, and that's deep in our identity. But if you put any kind of cover over your true identity, who you were meant to be, then you literally rob all the world of what God wanted to reveal through you.
Right. Right, and you don't do it knowingly lots of times, or you don't understand why you do it, if it is knowingly that you do it. But it usually comes from a place of hurt in the past, that the enemy has saw you try to rise up, and you've gotten wounded in that area, and you've made this agreement to say, I'm never going to do that again. And so you put this pose in front of it to hide. And that stuff we'll talk about in upcoming weeks. We'll talk about wounds. We'll talk about agreements and how they all tie together. There is a theme that kind of works through this, but they're all intertwined, and one leads upon the next. And so we're just continuing to unpack the poser and why we shouldn't do that, or do our best to try to get away from that. And what do we gain when we walk in our true identity? And we talked about some of that last show, and Robbie, you talked about, and Andy talked about the love that you actually get to feel from other people, because they're not just loving who they think you are, they're loving who you are. Right? And so how powerful is that to know, wow, they know my warts, they know everything about me that's bad, and they still choose to love me. Yep. It's so much better than they love me because they think this.
Yep. Right. Exactly.
Right. And so, when you talk about intimacy, and Robbie's favorite saying about breaking down intimacy is what?
Into me see.
Exactly. Right. And so when you have intimacy, you have to let people in to see you for who you are. And so, Andy, we get to your clip. One of your clips. And so this is from a really funny movie that we've all enjoyed in our youth and Harold's middle age. Yikes. He can't talk for himself right now. His voice is going out, so we're just got to pick it on him. But anyway, if you want to tell us a little bit about it.
So this is kind of a boot camp Army in the barracks, just talking, and you've got a leader, Sergeant Honka, and then you got John Winger, who is the Bill Murray character, who is basically, he's probably the biggest poser in here. And then there's a reference to Lee Harvey, who he's kind of kidding with. And you got something, Robbie? I saw you reach for the mic.
That's what I mean. I'm ready. I'm ready for,
But, anticipation.
But you'll just see one guy's trying to rise up and, act like he's a leader when, he's really not a leader. But, another thing is why I wanted to use this clip is last year, an example. I was hiding my glory of being able to work in the kitchen, and I was doing my best because we took on the kitchen duties last year. And at the end of it, Robbie was like, I should wait. You got to hear this. You got to hear this. I set that up. I cut it. But I'll talk about it. But anyway, you'll just see the poser in here and the humor in it all. It speaks for itself, and then I'll talk about it.
Yeah, before I play it, if you do get a chance to watch Stripes, this whole scene is all a bunch of posers.
Right, yeah.
You know, there's a couple authentic people in there. You'll pick them out, and you go, okay, that was at least authentic.
Yep.
But it's mainly posers.
Yeah, it is, but we have to kind of keep it short. This is one section of it because it is rather long. So.
It is. Here we go.
It's not just the uniform. It's the stories that you tell. So much fun and imagination. Lee Harvey, you are a madman. When you stole that cow, I want to party with you, cowboy. The two of us together, forget it. I'm going to go on a limb here. I'm going to volunteer my leadership to this platoon. An army without leaders is like a foot without a big toe. And Sergeant Hulka isn't always going to be there to be that big toe for us. I think that we owe a big round of applause to our newest, bestest buddy,
Poser,
and big toe, Sergeant Hulka.
Well, okay, hotshot. We're gonna see what kind of soldier you are.
But yeah, you get it. He was really posing. But yeah, Robbie just went on and on. I was helping out in the kitchen, and I was really doing the French toast. Well, I'd never done French toast, and he just he just went on, and it was like, Lee Harvey, you're a madman with that French toast.
I want to party with you.
I want to party with you. And I was like, there it is. I just got rid of another pose, right? I'm in the kitchen.
It was so fun. It really was. It was a great time, right?
Yeah, you had to be there.
Yeah, in this scene from the movie, you get to really see Bill Murray's character. It has a desire to impress. Mm-hmm. You know, he's already been in trouble with Sergeant Hulka a few times, and he's thinking, well, he can smooth things over and make things go easier. And Hulka sees right through it. Mm-hmm. You know, and you can hear it in his laugh. He's like, you know that he's going to be getting it again. Yeah. But that's part of that type of the poser that you have when you're knowingly doing it. You think that you're trying to deceive somebody into believing something that's not necessarily true about yourself. Yeah. You know, and so that's one version of it. And as Robbie pointed out, there's times you don't even know you're posing. You know, in our last show, I'm going to play a clip of another Bill Murray scene, and this is when men most often pose, but he's somewhat posing here. A little bit, but he's more gathering information so he can better pose. Right, yep. Would be a way to say it.
He's in reconnaissance right now.
He is. He's in recon. And so this is from Groundhog Day. It's Bill Murray. He's going to the diner with his producer, and he's wanting to know more about her, is what he tells her, but he's really wanting to try to date her, and not a very nice way. And so we're going to go ahead and play the clip and see where he kind of goes with it, and we'll talk more about it.
What are you looking for, Phil? A date for the weekend?
No, I'm just interested in you. You know, what do you want? What do you like? What do you think about? What kind of men are you interested in? What do you do for fun?
Is this for real, Phil, or are you just trying to make me look like a fool?
I'm just trying to talk like normal people talk. Isn't this how they talk?
Close.
Okay, so talk to me. Let me buy you a cup of coffee. And a donut.
All right.
So what do you want out of life, anyway?
I guess I want what everybody wants, you know. Career, love, marriage, children.
Are you seeing anyone?
I think this is getting too personal. I don't think I'm ready to share this with you. How about you? What do you want?
What I really want is someone like you.
Oh, please.
Well, why not? What are you looking for? Who is your perfect guy?
Well, first of all, he's too humble to know he's perfect.
That's me.
He's intelligent, supportive, funny.
Intelligent, supportive, funny. Me.
He's romantic and courageous.
Me also.
He's got a good body, but he doesn't have to look in the mirror every 2 minutes.
I have a great body, and sometimes I go months without looking.
He's kind, sensitive, and gentle. He's not afraid to cry in front of me.
This is a man we're talking about, right?
He likes animals and children, and he'll change poopy diapers.
Does he have to use the word poopy?
Oh, and he plays an instrument, and he loves his mother.
I am really close on this one. Really, really close.
What I liked about this movie, it's when you first watch this movie, you're like, okay, there's no redeeming value in it. It's just a silly fluff movie. It is really deep, quite honestly. It deals with the topic of trying to control your life and how you really don't have control. And in this, he tries his best to pose to get her to love him. Right, that's really what he becomes after. He even takes up playing a piano, and he has to practice it so many times. Because in this movie, if you've never seen it, literally it's like 20-some years old. But Groundhog Day, he repeats the same day over and over, but he's the only one that knows that it's being repeated. So everybody wakes up, and it's February 2nd, it's Groundhog Day every morning, but he knows what's happened the previous days before, and no one else does.
And each day he progressively manipulates the situation for his benefit and adapts. Right. He adapts to
it. Yeah, and later on you see in the movie where he adapts his pose to really try to win her heart over. But in the movie, even though it is a movie, right, and you look at it, when does he actually win her heart?
When he becomes real.
When he's really authentic with who he is. He quits trying to do it, and he just lives his life in the things that he can uniquely do.
Yeah, when he stops being a groundhog.
That's right. That's right.
And lets his glory come out to where he's beneficial in helping people, not just trying to extract something from them.
Right. In that movie, when he finally does win her heart over, right, and she's able to be there on February 3rd, and he actually has a new day that arises with him, and it happens with her, is when he quits worrying about what's good for him and focuses on what he can do to help others and to love on others, right? And she sees that and falls in love with that, right? His authentic self. And that's a big part of it, that, these times that we go and often men pose in front of women to try to boast, right? To make themselves look better.
Happen.
But, the beauty of that, and I love the genius of these, you can't help but see God's handiwork in it, that she is posing too. She doesn't even know what she wants in a man. She thinks she wants this guy that she just described. But what it turns out at the end of the movie, you see somebody completely different.
Yep.
And again, God knows all these things about us that we really don't know. And so we fumble our way thinking we know. But, quite often, therein lies the issue with pride, which is hard to believe and understand, that it is pride is the reason that we put a mask on when it would look like it's humility. But it's exactly the opposite, that the mask comes on because we're trying to hang on to our pride.
So we can stop acting.
Yeah. We need to be our authentic self. We're going to play one more clip of a different view of posing. Then we're going to come back and talk more about posing and finish up with some conversation. But Andy, this clip is yours from a movie called Good Will Hunting, right?
Yep. So you got Will Hunting, that's this brainiac that's actually working as a janitor. He is hiding. And posing isn't always asserting yourself. It can actually be pulling back and not allowing your glory to rise. And that's what he's kind of done. He's this brainiac, and he's being a janitor. He doesn't want to step into that because some wounds from his past. And then you've got Chucky. He's the first guy, the Ben Affleck character that you hear, and he's schmoozing the women. He's an obvious pose. And then you've got another guy there, this frat boy that tries to expose or try to pose and just talk down to people or whatever. But it's really a great scene. I mean, I call it the poser buffet because there's a lot of posing going on. And it's really easy to see as you walk through it in the different poses that you see here. So,
absolutely. And so we pick up with Chucky trying to talk to the women.
That's right.
Right, and try to impress them.
Exactly.
So here we go.
So I think I had a class with you.
Oh yeah? What class?
History.
Maybe.
Yes, I think that's what it was. You don't necessarily might not remember me. I like it here. It doesn't mean because I go here I'm a genius. I am very smart. Hey, how's it going? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
You want it?
What class did you say that was?
History.
History.
Yeah.
Just history? How'd you like that course?
Frankly, I found the class, rather elementary.
Elementary. I don't doubt that it was.
Yeah.
I remember that class. It was just between recess and lunch.
Clark, why don't you go away?
Why don't you relax?
Why not go away?
I'm just having fun with my new friend, that's all.
But we could have a problem?
No, there's no problem here. I was just hoping you might give me some insight into the evolution of the market economy in the southern colonies. My contention is that prior to the Revolutionary War, the economic modalities, especially in the southern colonies, could most aptly be characterized as agrarian pre-capital.
All right, of course that's your
Hang on a
contention.
second.
You're a first-year grad student. You just got finished reading some Marxian historian, Pete Garrison, probably. You're going to be convinced of that till next month when you get to James Lemon. Then you're going to be talking about how the economies of Virginia and Pennsylvania were entrepreneurial and capitalist way back in 1740. That's going to last until next year. You're going to be in here regurgitating Gordon Wood.
Well, as a matter of fact, I won't, because Wood drastically underestimates the impact of social...
Wood drastically underestimates the impact of social distinctions predicated upon wealth, especially inherited wealth. You got that from Vickers. Were you going to plagiarize the whole thing for us? Do you have any thoughts of your own on this matter? But is that your thing? You come into a bar, you read some obscure passage, and then pretend you pawn it off as your own idea just to impress some girls? Embarrass my friend? See, the sad thing about a guy like you is in 50 years, you're going to start doing some thinking on your own, and you're going to come up with the fact that there are two certainties in life. One, don't do that. And two, you dropped 150 grand on a vacation you could have got for $1.50 in late charges at the public library.
So you got Will, the poser, exposing the other poser frat boy, who is exposing the other poser, Chucky.
Right.
So you see it all there. And, sadly, that's what we see a lot in culture. A lot of people are just, that's overt. You can usually see things a lot better in a movie than you can. Ours may be a little bit more refined or developed or hidden or whatever, but posing's there. And again, it's just the point where for the longest time I didn't realize how I was. There was times when I think I've told you, this is an example. There was a variety of things. I would assert myself in work and try to be the smartest guy in the room. That's a common thing. You're competing with all these people who have knowledge and all, and do that. But then if I would be out and I'd see somebody that I hadn't seen in a long time, and I wasn't dressed the way I wanted to, or I just didn't want to be bothered or whatever, they'd be going down one aisle, and I could have reached out and said something to them. No, I go the other way. That's another pose. A variety of things that you do to avoid being yourself. And if you're not confident in who you are, if God's not healed your heart, why would you? But if you allow him to expose your pose, and you allow him to heal that and to get back to who you are, then you look for those opportunities, because again, your glory is showing, and it's not yours. He's shining through you, and you want to, you want to be around people. And again, you have your introvert and extrovert, and where you get your energy from and that kind of thing, but you can still be that type of person, yet allow God's glory to come out. He made you uniquely in a way, and I just don't want anything. This is my desire, to be live as true and real as I possibly can in the way he created me, because I know that's where the most freedom and the most joy and the most feeling of purpose that I'll get is if I actually live real and true.
So you can forget the world.
Yeah.
I love the movie Jerry Maguire, and we use these clips from, because again, they bring hope to the healing of the situation that, as you are actually, very funny.
He's hiding.
Put the camera on me. That, Jerry Maguire has gone through work, and looks like he's extremely successful, but he's being eaten alive because he knows that he's actually harming his clients. He's really not taking care of them, and God disrupts him and that's what God's going to do with all of us by this little boy who catches him, not taking care of his father's health, because he keeps getting all these concussions, and he says, "Oh, your dad can handle it. He can play," and he was posing, and the little kid got really mad at him because of that. And when he saw himself, right? That all of a sudden you see in the mirror how ugly that these poses can become, and it totally disrupted him to where he had a moment where God dismantled him so that he could rebuild who he really wanted to be and rethink and structure his life in a way that, and it's a beautiful movie from that standpoint that gives us hope that when God does that, he also provides a way out, like it says in the scripture, that way out is him, is seeing where he would guide you through that very difficult struggle to become who we are.
Right.
Yeah, one of the most painful things that'll happen to you is having your pose exposed, right? But one of the most gracious things that God does is he has that happen, whether he orchestrates it or he allows it to happen, so that you can find healing and that you can find the true self underneath. It's one of the most painful things, but honestly one of the kindest things that he ever does for your heart, because you get to learn more about you and learn more about him in the midst of that. And it brings you closer together.
If we realize it.
Yeah, absolutely, in that process.
Very rarely will we realize it and take action on ourselves. I mean, it takes some kind of exposure, and usually he's the one exposing it. If he's not directly involved in it, he's definitely indirectly involved in it with somebody else. I hesitate to say that because I don't really know what's going on, and it's probably all orchestrated by him. I'm just saying sometimes somebody will say something that may seem random that gets your attention, or speak into that. Did he use that person, or was it just from him? I have to say that he's using that person, but I don't know. I'm rambling here.
I think the longer you the longer you walk with him in this topic.
Thank you.
Right, the longer you do it, the less that he needs to do a big disruption.
Yeah, true.
And more the Holy Spirit prompts you.
Yeah.
And you'll go, oh, I was not genuine there. And it'll bother you at your core, right? And you go, okay, I don't want to be that way. I've lived that way. And it becomes more of an internal disruption than an external disruption. And there are a lot of times I still feel that at times. And honestly, for me, one big thing that he helped me get away from is I felt like I had to be an expert in my industry, right? I've done the same thing for 40 years now. I work in an industry you'll never master knowing all of it.
Yeah.
Right. And I just tell my clients very clearly when I meet with them that it's always my goal to give you the most correct answer I can. And even though I've done it for 40 years, don't be surprised if a lot of times I have to say, I'll get back with you.
Yeah.
Right. I need to go research this some more because I've learned through very hard times of having to recant things that I said without doing the research that was wrong and then make myself look really stupid. That I don't want to do that. And what I find in being authentic with people and saying, I really don't know as much about that. I had this happen about 2 months ago. One of my clients sells metal roofs for a living. And we put a section of metal roof on a house now in the community I'm in. I don't know a lot about metal roofs. In most of my career, I've never done them. I've done tile, I've done asphalt, never done metal roofs. And so he was asking me questions. I'm like, look, I know you know more than I do. I'm going to have to research this stuff. But one of the good things that was really cool that happened from that, when he sent in his survey, not just to me, but he did a Google review on the thing, he talked about just how much he appreciated the honesty of, saying, hey, I don't know, but I'm going to find out. That people appreciate authenticity more than anything when you're genuine with it. And God's really helped me see how to do that in my work area. Where he needs to help me grow is in my personal life some more. I think I'm very genuine for the most part, with the exception of if something's bothering me, I'm not the quickest to share it sometimes when I really should share it more. Or if I'm not feeling good, I don't tell people as much as I should. And people ask and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fine, I'm good. When I'm really not, because sometimes you just don't want to get into that conversation, and it's a form of hiding, and this is even with people that I know love me deeply and dearly, and that's the current area God's working on my heart to say, look, you need to be more authentic with these people around you. I have them around you for a reason.
Yeah, and one of the opportunities we want to make sure is that by coming to a boot camp and being in that environment, and having this talk and just being there alone with God, watching these movie clips where you don't just hear them, you're actually seeing them and you're you're hearing the guy from the stage, and they're going to hit you with these questions, and then you're going to go out in the woods, out there with God, and you're going to have a covenant of silence where you can sit down with God and have a real chat.
Actually got to feel them.
And I can't tell you the healing we have seen, all of us, through our own stories, but also through other men that we've had the joy to, work with, of this particular talk having gigantic breakthroughs in people's walk with God.
Yeah, this is one of the linchpin things that you got to be able to get through this part to get to the deeper meat and the deeper stuff underneath.
Yeah, to get to the wound, you have to dismantle the pose. I think
you do, right?
Statement, but
yeah, and then to see spiritual warfare more clearly, you have to see how you've been attacked, right? And that they all kind of build again on one another, and they're all intertwined.
One of the things that to your point, Robbie, about the boot camp is certainly you get along with God and you begin to ask Him, how do you pose? And maybe, God will bring things to your mind. It'll be ding, 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 ding. But what helps also is you can relate to the guys and the stories that you hear from the stage and people being authentic. And it has been freeing to get up there on the stage and talk about my worst stuff.
Right.
Because that disables the enemy. If you tell it, he can't hold that against you any longer. It's out there, and there's freedom that comes from that. But that's like ripping off the fig leaf.
Right. One of the most common things we hear in the surveys we do after boot camp, we just ask them 2 questions. How did God come after you? And how can we pray for you? One of the things we hear more frequently, we hear amazing stories about God and what He did, but when it talks about us, it's about we really appreciate the authenticity. I knew I could be myself because I saw others being themselves. And that's what we'd invite you to do. Come be yourself with us. Be yourself with God, more importantly. Go to masculinejourney.org to register for the upcoming boot camp. It's coming up November 20th through 23rd in Royston, Georgia. Beautiful, beautiful location. We'd love to have you there with us. If you need help with finances, let us know. We'll help you get there, and we'll talk with you next week.